We are live. This is the market update. Welcome to the financial crisis of 2025, otherwise known as the Sell America trade. 1, do you believe that? 2, will this be the dawn of Bitcoin? Is this everything you've ever wanted? Is Lawrence Lindsay's prophecy coming true in his book, Currency War? Talking about how the Chinese and the Americans went at it with the Chinese with an evil plot to wreck the dollar. I think we have our own plot to wreck the dollar. Lawrence Lindsay was a former advisor to the president and Federal Reserve executive. A very interesting book. Good luck finding it. It's tough. Bottom line is U.S. China main event. The Sell America trade is in effect. Everything is cracking, right? Everything is cracking. We're not going to be able to get rare earth metals from China, and there's pretty much bad news everywhere, like stock market, bond market, currency market. But I can tell you this, volatility is spreading. First, we start in stocks, then we go to bonds, then we go to FX, then we go to crypto. Now, will crypto go to zero along with other assets? Well, and crypto, we all know that's always possible. However, 2025, according to Toby in the YouTube member area, where we did the best podcast we've ever done recently, so you really should check that out. She has been saying two things for a very long time. One, there's going to be a massive decoupling between Bitcoin and equities, and a decoupling between altcoins and Bitcoin, believe it or not. And 2025 will be like nothing you've ever seen. So all of our members have been hearing this literally for months. You definitely want to get in there and check it out because we got more podcasts discussing altcoins, ETH, because we are here, folks. We are at the great financial crisis of 2025. They will write books about this. If you've never been in one, you're in one now. You are in one now. Now, what are we going to do today? Well, first of all, we're going to talk about what's going on we're going to talk about the whole tariff thing. We're going to talk about the stock market. We're going to talk about the currency market. We're going to talk about gold and why you think Bitcoin is going up. By the way, Patreon got some really, really nifty historical analysis ahead of this Bitcoin pop last night, along with 6th Street Crypto. That's the middle tier offering. And then you've got Lux Algo, the indispensable chart program, right? My indicator in there to help you find tops and bottoms. And then, of course, you've got this Bitcoin conference that, Ross is speaking at, that I just get this feeling no one wants to go to it. And that's exactly why you should go to it. Because everyone's selling Bitcoin at 79 now, and they're going to be paying $129 by Memorial Day. Because it's just simple. This is everything that Bitcoin was ever created for. Ever. And even the orange man knows it. World Liberty's queued up to double up on ETH. This is happening. This is happening. The race to the bottom in Fiat. Fiat is finished. Okay, let's welcome who's here before I relentlessly go off for an hour. Okay, we have Bull Runner is here. Welcome. Today's Tech Bites, a member with that McAfee emoji. Bob Marsh, selling pressure up to the 15th to pay taxes. Normally, selling pressure for taxes kind of abates 2 or 3 days before. Art from the Amsterdam airport. What's up? Philip is here. Yow. Tango FN, a member. What do you think of the tax cut Trump said he was coming out with? Yeah, dude, he's got to do it, right? That's why the tax cut is an excuse to have Elon and Doge relentlessly continue. Because, if you want to cut taxes, you got to cut spending. I mean, I think that's going to happen, right? Because, people have been destroyed by inflation. I was like, oh, we're going into a recession. No, NVIDIA holders are going into a recession. The rest of us have been in one for 2 years. Forget about it. Welcome. Donato, DC Precise, Crypto Tilly is here. Welcome. US plus China equals Bitcoin. right? The Fuzz Crypto, Sebastian, a member for 6 months from sunny Switzerland. Welcome, sir. Daniel J., it takes two to tango. That's right. We have men behaving badly, geopolitics, legacy, goodness. Goodness, goodness, goodness. All right. Bitcoin up 3% when I'm starting. Let's go. News. Lots of it. Got to explain the whole world to you. By the way, I'm not showing it, but there's a video on my YouTube. This is a short video about China and Chinese currency that is going viral for me. It's like 13,000 views in like a week. So people are trying to figure this out. So the Orange Man says, well, we're doing really well with our tariff policy. Okay, bro. That's cool. Right? Now, the definition of okay means I'm going to implement this and I don't care if stuff breaks. Matter of fact, the US and China have something in common. We don't care if the whole thing breaks. That's the way we're acting. I have a feeling we do. And I have a feeling Jerome Powell isn't going to sleep for a week. Seriously. And he may not sleep over the weekend. And I'm just hoping this whole market closes today. And I'm just hoping Bitcoin takes one look at this and goes straight up. Straight up. You know, even though I know we do this equity freak out trade on Sunday night, but there's a part of me that feels like it's time. All inflation metrics are moving in the right direction. Now we just have to worry about the Treasury market imploding. This means I think that Powell can come in with 75 basis points right away. I'm down with Sunday night. Inflation numbers are fine. Treasury market's falling apart. Politicians are about to nuke each other on both sides of the Pacific Ocean. He's like, wow, let's just come in and cut 75 and let people know, or cut 100 and just let people know. You know, I hope he doesn't do 25 because that's wimpy. But if he comes in and comes in big, that moves Bitcoin. Okay, so China will raise tariffs on all imported U.S. goods. And if the United States imposes higher tariffs, according to the Chinese embassy, it would no longer make economic sense and ultimately go down as a joke in world economic history. Okay, so the Sell America trade is accelerating. Chinese say United States is weaponizing tariffs as a tool of bullying and coercion, turning itself into a joke. Wow. We need a lecture from communists about bullying and coercion. You buy too many Snickers bars in China, or you buy too much wine, you may not be able to get back into your apartment because it's all attached to your social credit score. So GFU. Okay, Blackrock, Larry Fink. You know, I'm starting to think this guy is like, you know, a little off. I know I'm a little off, but he's like, seems like kind of depressed, down in the mouth, right? Kind of weird, right? So he says, U.S. is very close to recession and may be in one now. Okay. Larry Fink says there will be much greater inflation in the United States. Okay. Larry, I don't know how we're going to have inflation when you're going to take $688 billion in goods and just shut it off. We're shutting it down. This is like cough, cold, and flu, right? U.S.-China economic trade since 1979, right? So we're doing $688 billion in trade with the Chinese, and it's just going to grind to a halt. The last time things ground to a halt, the Fed took rates down to zero, and central banks had to print $14 trillion. The Fed could do $1 trillion. They could do it. They may have to do it. Bessent may have to do it. White House says America cannot exist if we continue to enrich and embolden China. Okay. So again, they're willing to let everything blow up. They're willing to let stocks blow up, bonds blow up. They don't care. You know, there was a strategy where they thought they could get other nations to absorb the supply in treasuries, but then there's other evidence, other guys saying that, you know, the Chinese are going to sell their treasuries and wreck the market. Inflation is fine. So PPI was supposed to be up. It was down, right? PPI core went down to 3%. Regular PPI is now below 3%. I have absolutely no idea why rates are at 4%. Now, if this quote has any sort of foretelling in it, Larry may be telling you the Fed's coming in now, right? Oh, we're already in a recession. Okay, well, if we're already in a recession, I don't understand why rates are at 4% when inflation is at 3%. That doesn't make any sense at all. Now, the only asset that has a consistent story for the last 6 months is gold. Okay, so a dollar devaluation has been in process for a long time, right? There are all kinds of stories about how, there isn't enough gold in the world to satisfy whoever has a paper receipt that says they have it, right? Silver is next. I personally think Bitcoin and ETH can follow. How can Bitcoin be digital gold and Bitcoin not follow this? Now, I know everyone's going to say Bitcoin is correlated with NASDAQ, but the whole idea of having research is to have the imagination to know that in 2025, it's not going to be like it was in any other year. There's multiple people saying that. Toby Ward said it first. She said it first. The unstoppable dollar is wreaking havoc everywhere but America, says Doomberg in 2022 at the top, the dollar index at 111. Doomberg continues going, U.S. dollar's extended reign delivers stark wake-up call for the markets. The world's financial markets are encountering a force that they didn't bet on. A strong dollar is back and is set to stay 1 year ago. Okay. So it's not like they weren't reflecting the reality at the time, but the dollar has just been way too strong for way too long, and it needs to vaporize. We'll go over the quarterly charts of the dollar index. We'll go over the monthly chart of the dollar and the quarterly chart of gold. You're going to see that whatever's going on here is going on for 2 years. So either Bitcoin and crypto is going to zero along with NASDAQ, or someone's going to wake up and go, this is why we Bitcoin. This is it. This literally is it. Okay, so here we go again. Hedge funds, that's the basis trade. Some sort of leverage bet in the bond market that's going horribly wrong. Okay. Yen soaring, bad for hedge funds. Okay. Bond yields are rising and not falling. Ruh-roh. Welcome to this. Got to get a copy of the Bitcoin standard so I can wave that around. Treasuries are trading like risky assets in warning to the orange man. Doomberg. They're right about this, right? Treasuries are losing their mind. Treasuries are trading like risky assets. And there is evidence that, the U.S. is at risk for default. Capital markets are looking at the United States. They were looking at Greece, Portugal, Italy, and Spain, otherwise known as the pigs, right? Back in 2010 and 2011. We are the new pig in the capital market. We will try to look at credit default swaps. And if you don't know what that means, it's VIX for a country's credit rating. Let's do it that way. Okay. So we have something going on in the bond market. Okay. China's role in these wild swings in the bond market is coming under scrutiny. Analysts have suggested, without hard evidence, that treasury sales by Beijing may have helped fuel the volatility. Wow, imagine communists blowing up their own holdings just to spite you. China has an incentive to show it won't hesitate to cause turmoil in global financial markets in order to improve its negotiating power against the U.S., writes Atura Akamura, a senior interest rate strategist at a Japanese bank. Okay, so there's no proof of this, but the Chinese, when they get backed into a corner, they're going to go with the nuclear option and start market selling bonds, which they can do. And they can call anybody out there and try to get them to go along with them. Don't think it can't happen. It could. And if it does, it just brings in Powell huge. Orange Man has sent the message. I'm asking the Supreme Court to fire you. If you would like to keep your job, 75 basis points and QE right on cue. Like they literally at the Fed, if they don't have the cover off the button with their finger on it, ready to push it in case this becomes real. It is real. It's happening. It's happening right now. Okay. Okay. Gold hits record, dollar dumps, right? Commodities and stocks remain terrified, right? Nothing to see here. Move along. Now, This is the world's perception of America's sovereign risk is soaring. This is the credit default swap. You can look at it as a metric of fear about a country's credit worthiness. It's based on the probability of a default on debt. So as you can see, we're moving past, all previous peaks. Okay. Everyone is losing their mind, right? People are afraid, and the orange man and the Chinese leader don't care if they break things. So the dollar is already broken as far as I'm concerned. You could have a parabolic rise in the euro and the yen, which hurts them, right? And you could have a disorderly move somewhere in currencies. Could be the Chinese currency, or it could be the dollar. Now, I know that they're fine with that because the only way out of a debt crisis is to devalue the currency. So if the dollar is falling, then they will continue on this path. And if the dollar continues to fall and gold continues to rise, I cannot believe that doesn't mean Bitcoin. I just can't believe it, right? Now, I know if stocks get hysterical, we're going to have to deal with volatility, and that's probably true. But the closer you get to the thin Easter markets, right, the greater the chance that, you have something really good happen in Bitcoin kind of out of nowhere. That's my operating thesis. The Bank of Japan and the ECB should probably have an emergency phone call tonight. Yeah, because the dollar is about to implode and their currencies are about to go up, and that's not going to be good for them. That's not at all. Okay. World Liberty moving funds around, getting ready to probably double up in ETH. Gold up, silver up, dollar down is supposed to be good for ETH, and ETH is at 1,400. ETH as a dead instrument with no future is already priced in. And I have an ETH versus Bitcoin chart that's stark raving unbelievable, which I'd be happy to explain to you. Another build in crude stocks driving oil down further. So Joe Public is not seeing the Treasury basis trade. They're not watching, the dollar versus the yuan. They're not watching any of this. They're going to go to gas pump over the weekend, and gas is going to be below $2 in Texas. They're like, oh my God, this is so awesome. Really? Now, oil companies are going to need a tax cut in the United States, but when Bessent told you he wanted oil at 50, he got oil at 50. Then he's going to get stablecoin legislation. Then there's going to be a massive flood of money into crypto and Bitcoin, if not sooner. Cyberpunk legend Adam Back says Bitcoin is fully decoupled from the stock market. He says now is a buying opportunity. YouTube members knew this a long time ago. Long time ago. Hard hats time. Top of book death is 6 digits. We have never seen this before, ever. I don't exactly know what that means, but it must mean systemic stress, that there is not a lot of liquidity in the futures market. Okay. I'm always telling you that the S&P futures are the most liquid contract in the world. It's the most liquid thing in the world. Yeah, I stand corrected. People in crypto know about liquidity, right? If you have liquidity, you have depth, you can sell, buy, whatever. Yeah, there's no liquidity in S&P futures. None. So, I guess that could get vaporized, and that's a risk in crypto, right? It could happen, all right? Or Bitcoin could go straight up. GameStop is about to own more Bitcoin than Tesla. Okay. Sell America is accelerating. Meanwhile, Blackrock spot Bitcoin ETF bought $6 million worth of ETH, as money could literally be pouring in to different type of crypto assets through equities. Ether staking could come on as soon as May. Thing about Ethereum that's funny is it's actually has an interest rate. The staking rate is an interest rate. It's fascinating. Okay, dollar index hits 3-year low. Okay, while Bitcoin remains steady. Kind of wondering what it is we're doing here. Looking around, not buying everything. I know Bitcoin is doing okay. Man, this dollar thing gets going, and wait, you see the chart. Don't go anywhere. It's pretty simple. Now, here's a funny here's a funny chart. After utterly massive outperformance in the years prior, Warren Buffett is about to have his stock is about even with simply holding gold since 1998, about 27 years. So, yeah, he sold a lot of Apple stock at the top. Good for him. But, I mean, where are you going to get returns? Like, nowhere. Not in stocks, right? It's like you're better off holding gold. Okay, well, you hold gold, and gold goes from 3,000 to 5,000. Okay, that's a good move. But if gold is at 5,000, where's Bitcoin? Okay, Eagle King, all right, with the explanation of what the zero hedge quote means. Imagine you're at a school bake sale. There's a table where they're buying and selling cookies. You might see 3 or 4 people in line to buy or sell at any given moment. But today, there's 100,000 people lined up on both sides of the table. The top of the book is likely the very front of the line, the people who are ready to buy or sell right now at current prices. When people say 6 digits of depth, they mean there are over 100,000 units, shares, contracts, whatever, stacked up at the very front of the line. Okay? It's weird because usually the biggest piles are a little further back in line. So for this much to be right up front, that's like a giant crowd rushing to the table with signs that say, I'm buying or I'm selling. And it can mean something big is about to happen. Basically, something's up. Either someone is faking everyone out or there is a big storm coming. And that is why the Eagle King is the best producer in all of YouTube. Because someone's got their finger on the button. I don't know if it's the Chinese. I don't know who it is. Maybe it's Blackrock. Who knows? All I know is somebody could push a button and you could have a crisis. You got to make a decision, right? The only parallel, and we talked about this on the last show, which no one watched. If you did, thank you. When I talked about Bitcoin going to 120K, there's no parallel for what's going on here except the cough, cold, and flu bottom. Where Bitcoin bottomed out, stocks had a final puke, and then Bitcoin went up 70%. And I don't see why this is any different at all. Okay. Big Rich with the super chat. He says he's from Bill's Patreon group. Gave Big Rich some customized TA, which you can get in a chat group like Telegram. Okay. He wants to know, does Tau look as good as Render? So I gave him Solana, Sui, Tau, and Render. And for Big Rich, we will stop the show and take a look at Tau because Big Rich knows what sectors we're looking to get long AF in. Wow, this bounced a lot, huh? Maybe this is not right. Let me just get this. Okay, big theme that we're looking at is AI. Okay, Tau failed on this. Let's go over to here. By the way, Solana for Big Rich is hitting the 200-week moving average. By the way, I got that from somebody in Patreon. Someone said, hey, Bill, take a look at Solana at the 200-week moving average. I'm like, wow, look at that. I don't know, man. Money flow in Tau is inching higher, and Lux Algo is buying it. You know, Lux Algo hasn't been able to catch these up moves because obviously everything's been going straight down. I don't know, bro. I would go with it. I know you got filled on orders below. Just stay with it, man. I can't bring myself to get off crypto at these levels. I just can't. Now, so hard hats, they have their finger on the sell button over in Legacy. World Food Program is now accepting crypto. Now, this I think matters. Now, obviously, you know, I have an affiliate link for this Bitcoin conference. And I'm super interested to hear what Ross would have to say. But Ross is now the #1 attraction to Bitcoin conference, which means no one wants to go. No one. No one's interested. I did a video yesterday about Bitcoin going to 120K, and maybe the thumbnail was a little bit too eccentric, but no one watched the video. No one. No one's bullish. They had to get Ross out to come speak at the conference. No one wants to go. And my argument is when no one wants to go, that's when you should go. Because what are the bullish catalysts going to be for Bitcoin when you get there, right? And everyone figures out that this is what Satoshi Nakamoto wrote the white paper for. That's what they wrote the white paper for. And you may find out one day that, you know, he was from an intelligence service, ours, the Japanese, I don't know. Larry Summers, who used to work at the Fed, knew enough about the U.S. and China going at it in a currency war to write a giant book, a fictional book about it. It's happening right now, right? But no one wants to talk about Bitcoin. We got to get the poor guy out of jail to come to try to get everybody to go to the conference. Go to the conference. Go to the conference. Do everything I can to get there, right? Go to the conference. ETH Staking coming online. We talked about that. Now, here we go. $250 million in USDC minted on Solana to go with the amount minted on Tether yesterday. S&P 500 more volatile than Bitcoin as U.S. assets go. See ya. Can't buy Berkshire Hathaway. Can't buy S&P. Can't buy bonds. Can't buy real estate. Can't sell real estate. Can't do anything with real estate. Bitcoin significantly de-risked here as nearly 80% of cyclical price correction is done. Right. And we know this from the on-chain data. All the people who bought early, who bought at the top, sold out, said, I'm done, and I'm not coming back. And I got the YouTube statistics to prove it. People are more interested in what's going on between the U.S. and China on tariffs than they are about Bitcoin, sort of, right? Or they're interested in how it could affect Bitcoin, and I have that video too, right? 5-year inflation expectations. The market going this way. People from the Democratic Party in a poll versus from University of Michigan. So the market expects 2% inflation. People from the left expect 5%. If you feed people enough disaster stuff, they start believing it, right? You shouldn't be telling these people that inflation's going higher. You should be telling them to do crypto. That's what they should be telling them. But of course, they're not telling them that because crypto makes you free. Now, just in case, and I know I'm on this all the time, and I know y'all looking at me. I know there's haters out there. Minority Report, a cool movie from Tom Cruise. And pressure group State Watch has revealed that the UK's Minister of Justice has been working on a dystopian AI murder prediction program that uses algorithms to analyze large data sets and predicts who is most likely to commit a crime. Okay. The Ministry of Justice says the program aims to review offender characteristics that increase the risk of committing homicide, explore alternatives and innovative data science techniques to assess the risk of fill in the blank. They're already picking up people for Facebook, and antivirus has a $2 million market cap. You got to be kidding me, right? There's no way you're going to be able to look at the internet in Europe without a privacy device. No way. You're not going to be able to go into metaverse without some sort of ZK roll-up function that controls your data, right? That controls who can see your data. I mean, they're actively working on profiling you and saying, oh, okay, well, you do a crypto live stream. Okay, we don't like you. We're going to take you away. It's unbelievable. It's happening. They are doing it. You will not be able to surf the internet in Europe. You won't. And if you have an economic crisis, right, they're going to use that as an opportunity to double down on all this. Never let a good crisis go to waste, right? The Chinese character for crisis is a combination of the characters danger and opportunity. So things could come unglued in China, or they could use the whole thing to double down on their war machine and social control. Because if their factories closed, I don't know what happens over there. But I know communists, they're predictable. And now you have communists running England, France. You supposedly elected a new government in Germany. You can't have an election in France. You can't have an election in Romania. And we're selling cryptocurrency here. We're selling it. The Solana phone, antivirus, cross-chain mixer, e-gift cards, eSIM cards. They're coming out with email on the roadmap, so you don't have to sit there and sell your data to whoever who's going to profile you as a bad guy. Think that's going to be arbitrary? I don't think so. right? In other words, I'm reading a book about AI, and the question isn't, will AI become evil? The question is, will AI become competent, right? Meaning it's got incredible execution, and that AI will be set up by humans with goals that are anti-human. Like the AI doesn't become evil like it does in the science fiction books, right? The AI becomes incredibly competent, and it's aligned with goals that aren't exactly aligned with the goals of human freedom. It's happening right now. Binance listing Ondo, Big Time, and Virtuals. I'm telling you, when people start coming after this stuff, it's like you see these like blips up in Fartcoin. You know, these algos that try to push Fartcoin when nothing else is happening. President Trump overrules DeFi ruling. Yeah, no duh. No duh. World Liberty Financial is gonna front run it's either gonna front run BlackRock coming in. Right. First it'll be the Fed, and then it will be the banks. Because when the banks get a load of like, oh my God, do we have enough liquidity? Like they're lined up. Remember that thing about the order book from Zero Hedge? So they're lined up to sell, and there's no liquidity anywhere. None. No liquidity S&P futures. They're just all sitting there with their finger on the button, probably because nobody wants to go home long. Nobody wants to go home long risky assets, and everyone's freaking out that they're going to wake up on Sunday night. There's going to be a big move out of Asia. I don't know what they're worried about. I just keep sitting here going, okay, well, I can sit here and be like, well, you know, we should look at the resistance at 83 and think about getting 2x leverage short for a move back to 69, or we can read this and buy Bitcoin. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I know it's kind of a boring stream. It's like, oh yeah, let's get bullish Bitcoin. No. Let's get idiot bullish Bitcoin. Like, let's become like a Bitcoin zealot. Like, let's think like a maxi, right? This is what the maxis have been literally waiting for. This is what they've been waiting for. Look at this give up trade. NFT trader down $10 million on a Cryptopunk. Between the Cryptopunk and ETH, he just locked in a $10 million loss. Wow. Guessing he has gains somewhere else that he's offsetting, but why would you puke a Cryptopunk with ETH at 1,400? That's insane. But it's a reflection of sentiment on ETH. I mean, I remember when Cryptopunks came out, we've come full circle. It was like you were an idiot if you didn't have it. Literally, people felt like an idiot. I went to a party and we couldn't get it. I mean, this Azuki NFT, you know, there was a party and people were getting airdrops, and the airdrops were worth $400,000. And we just wanted to go to the party. We have come full circle, right? We went from a complete mania to total despair, where people are just literally puking stuff on top of support. I can't see how, from the point of view of technical analysis, this is not bullish when you have people just absolutely heaving. Meanwhile, the president's hedge fund is queued up to just take whatever it is these guys are selling. El Salvador just buys a Bitcoin every day. Goes, God, the Americans and Chinese, you go. We're just hovering it all up. Okay, so a tweet on how this is kind of blowing up in everyone's face. Okay, Treasury Secretary said the tariffs were about debt management. They need to refinance $9 trillion. Okay, market volatility was supposed to create demand for treasuries, and it's not. Okay, now, this is some, you know, pro Bessent stuff. Okay, there's always unintended consequences, and he knows it, and so does Jerome Powell. So if they actually broke things, you know, Jerome Powell can decide if he's working for the deep state or he's working for America when stuff comes completely unglued. By the way, don't forget to check out the YouTube member area. Did crypto just reverse course? Right? Who's right? I'm worried she's not. You'll find out why in the YouTube member area. All you have to do is listen to this. We also have altcoin picks in there, stuff that we like for when this turns around. Will the economic crisis push Bitcoin to new heights? That's me on CoinDesk. I don't understand how you can have this kind of a crisis and not do Bitcoin. And the thing that's funny is Bitcoin could launch itself. And then after everyone in crypto goes, wow, I could have bought Bitcoin at 79 and now it's at 99. And then ETH follows. And Solana follows. And then it's XRP. And then that gets boring. And then it's after that. But it all starts with 79K Bitcoin, with everybody looking around going, gee, what should we do? Okay, I'm going to go to PowerPoint, because I got a lot of unbelievable stuff on PowerPoint. Okay, it's from my friend Andy. If a book will be written about this crisis, there will be a section detailing how the Fed almost capitulated and started buying treasuries on Tuesday night to inject liquidity into the bond market. I think that's inevitable, but that's how close it came on Tuesday. And who knows what's queued up now? We don't know. All right, this is the dollar versus the Chinese currency. So the dollar has been doing quite well versus the Chinese currency, but interestingly, it kind of fell out of bed. So not only are they're selling the dollar versus every other currency, they're actually selling the dollar right now versus the Chinese currency, which is very interesting, don't you think? Right? Like, I was the one saying, oh, Chinese currency is going to go to zero. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. Lux Algo just sold the dollar and bought the Chinese currency today. So we're selling the dollar versus everything, which, of course, again, gold, Bitcoin, this dollar trade is unbelievable. This is dollar yen. Okay, so this would be very negative for stocks. Okay, this was dollar down last year when everyone got totally hysterical. This could completely break. I mean, this is a weekly head and shoulders chart, and if dollar yen was ever below 140, this whole thing with the dollar could spiral and turn into something fugly. Fugly for hedge funds, right? I don't know if it's fugly for Main Street, but they are on the verge of breaking things, like epically. Right? But if that's what they have to do to get the dollar down, they may actually be okay with it. They may be all right with it. Okay, so this is a list of rare earth metals, right? U.S. net import resilience. I don't know, man. It looks like, we're going to be going without LED lighting, magnets for fighter jets, night vision goggles, right? All these rare earth metals that go into these things, that rare earth metals subject to Chinese export controls. So that's why we're trying to get a mineral deal with Ukraine or Russia, because the Chinese aren't going to do it. This is all a part of what helps everything come unglued. It's probably what Larry Fink is looking at, right? All right, so this is the most overpublished graph in crypto, but, this is a bottoming zone for Bitcoin with a prediction about what's going to happen with M2. Okay, this is what happened in 2017. Look, high-powered money is coming. You cannot have, the Fed is watching this, okay? The Fed is watching this. Okay. Someone is asking about the Bitcoin halving, okay? So one thing that people have talked about is that we're not really having a cycle, right? We're not having a cycle, right? Whales took their money and left, and we have not gotten the Bitcoin glory post halving that we normally do. Okay. Glassnode showed that, large whales briefly reached a perfect accumulation score in April, indicating intense buying over a 15-day period. This score has since eased, but still reflects constant, consistent accumulation. Okay. This divergence signals growing distribution from retail to large holders. Okay. The last time mega whales hit a perfect accumulation score was August of last year, when Bitcoin was trading at 60. 2 months later, okay, it was at 108. All right. So Big Rich wants to look at Tau and AKT. Definitely appreciate the super chats. Okay, so here's AKT on Coinbase. Dude, you got the 13 and the 9 bottom. You have a lot of signals here, especially this 0, that it just indicates the down move is over. It just really hasn't been traded yet. You need a little oomph to $1.41. If you ever got past $1.41, or if you ever got past $1.64, not sharing screen, okay. Sorry. Okay. So here's the 13 and the 9 bottoms, and these are everywhere in crypto. Okay. There's a DeMar 0 here, which means down, move over. And you would really get wild if you got above $1.45, and you could go absolutely nuts if it ever took out 164. I know that's far away, but even if it's still a downtrend, you should attack the top of the previous 4th wave at $1.64. You should. Okay, looking for more computer cooperation on Tau. 270 is a key level. I want to say Big Rich got filled down here, right? So this is one of the first times where you're seeing, AI cryptos, right? AI cryptos actually start performing. AI cryptos are performing. Didn't share screen for this news. Okay. Got it. Okay. So down here, I was reading about how, large players, okay, I lost it. Large players are accumulating Bitcoin. That's kind of all you really need to know, right? They sold it at 100, and now they're taking everything that anyone will sell them at 80. So sorry I missed that. I know we're not having a traditional cycle. I know that. But 2025 from the beginning in the YouTube member area, like Toby just kept saying it. And it's one thing to say it, and it's another thing to be there, right, when it happens. Like, her job is to see it, and my job is to be like, oh my God, this is happening. This is it, right? I don't see it. She says it. I'm like, she was talking about, she's talking about 120 in Bitcoin. I'm like, woman, what are you talking about? This market looks like it wants to go to zero. It's like, yeah, it's going to 120. I'm like, okay, back to the drawing board, right? Then, I do this video. All right. Perhaps not my greatest thumbnail art ever. 120K Bitcoin on a down day. I think a Roger Ver video did better. No one watched it. Now, maybe everyone's sick of my you know what? Or this thing's about to turn, right? I mean, at some point, you got to believe, right? I mean, is it easy to read all this zero hedge stuff to you and say, yeah, you know what? Everything's going to zero. Buy gold. Everything else is going to zero. Go get canned goods and stack them up in a cave. Learn how to make a campfire. That's the market update. We'll see you on Monday. No. There's no imagination in that at all. None. And in research, you get paid for imagination. Now, I continue to believe, going back to what that news article said, that this feels like August or September of 2004. This analog pattern match from Bitcoin, it's in Ethereum, it's in Solana, it's everywhere, really has this market lined up right at the bottom of the 2024 market in October, right before the whole thing just took off. Because remember, why did it take off in the fall of 2024? Because the Fed put high-powered money in the system so Brandon and the administration could have a Merry Christmas. So they just turned on the spigot. Boom. I mean, everything that's happening here can be solved by high-powered money. The question is, are they going to put it in? Does the Fed want it to get nuked? I don't know. Like, who is Jerome Powell? Is he an alien? Is he a secret agent? Does he work for the deep state? Is he a patriot? Does he love Trump? Does he hate Trump? Does he love America? Does he hate America? I don't know. We're going to find out. But if Jerome Powell wanted to make himself a hero, the second he thinks there's something wrong, or even before that, he could come in with a big rate cut and QE. Right? Now, initially, that might be admission that there is a problem, but I think we already know there's a problem. Right? And then if he comes in with something like that and said, listen, we're not going to let this blow up. We know this trade war creates a lot of uncertainty, but we're going to do whatever it takes to make sure markets are stable. That's really all he has to do. And inflation has collapsed anyway. It's not like there's some big inflation risk. Yeah, there's tariff markups, but that's different than too many dollars chasing too few goods, which is what inflation is, which is what you've had, but they've crushed spending. They've done all these things. You don't have too many dollars chasing too few goods anymore. Maybe, right? At least you don't right this second. Okay, let's talk about Bitcoin early in a quarter. So, when you're around the 10th day of a quarter, somewhere around there, right? Late in a week, early in a quarter. Bitcoin normally does pretty good over like the next 10 days. You can get the average of all the moves out 9 days. Like, you get this early in a quarter. So late in the week, early in the quarter, you can get 11% move in Bitcoin historically, right? With one of the biggest moves in, drum roll, October of 2024. Two separate data queries here. You know what I'm saying? So late in the week, early in the quarter, no market condition here. Just saying, hey, that's fertile ground for a move, for a big one, right? You had, and this is when Bitcoin was a lot smaller. You had 10, 30, 13% moves. And just as a reminder, right? NASDAQ and Bitcoin up 8% in one day or more. It's only what happened one time. That was 2020, August 13th. I'm sorry, March 13th, 2020. Equities did have a final puke. Bitcoin did not. Okay? Bitcoin did it all already. I know it was already down 40%. Still, right? You can have consternation in legacy, but basically you have a historical match showing the worst is over in Bitcoin. And if I'm wrong on Sunday night, I don't care. If it goes to 66, I'm just going to buy more because I know I'm going to wake up one day here and this thing's just going to be gone. Because if 2025 is different than every other year, then as legacy cracks, Bitcoin could explode. And if you're not at least open to that possibility, you might miss it. If you're wrong, you might get stopped out. But if you're right and Bitcoin just explodes, no one is interested. No one wants to hear about it. No one likes it. Everyone hates it. Okay. We'll see. And that is the market update. Okay, let's go to live TA. I have to be efficient about this. Okay. Interesting that I pulled up the Bitcoin 2-day chart. So every bar is 2 days. So this is the 200-day moving average or the 200-period moving average. So it's the average of the close of the last 200 bars. Anyway, interesting how when you go to a time frame that most people don't look at, Bitcoin looks nifty. Nifty, right on top of this little like Lux Algo buy zone. Interesting, huh? Very interesting if you ask me. Okay, last time Bitcoin touched that particular band, August of last year. I mean, it's hard to even find areas on this 2-day chart when you got that close to this metric, this wavy green sort of like buy zone thingy, for lack of a better term. It's been a while. It's been a while. And you got there last time, right? This rocket ship off this one right here, once Lux Algo came in and liked it. See, that's the thing about Bitcoin. It's like, I can understand why somebody is like a little bit spooked, right? It's not perfect. It doesn't look great. And it's just like not all lined up perfectly. But man, if it got going, you'd have commodity traders advise you'd have a lot of people buying it. Solana on the 200-week moving average. Okay. Going over here, long-term charts. People, this is it. I've talked about this before. First of all, dollar crisis, dollar getting hammered. Oh my God. Can you even find it on this chart? Can you even find it? Oh, the dollar index is at 100. Oh my God. People, you had the dollar index went from 165 to 80, right? The dollar went from 165 to 90 in 3 years on a rope straight down in 1985 when all the G7 countries got together and decided the dollar was too strong. Right now, we're not doing the G7. We're doing Donnie T. Okay? Donnie T is like, I want the dollar lower. He says to Bessent, how do we get the dollar lower? Bessent may have said, well, we might have to break everything. Donnie T's like, okay, I'm good at that. They probably wanted people to just buy treasuries and have it be orderly. But at this point, they're like, okay, well, you know what? Maybe the dollar will blow up. Maybe it'll just blow up because it blew up. Greenspan, this is Greenspan tightening in 2000 to try to stop the dot-com bubble. NASDAQ had already rolled over and the dollar continued to go higher. And then when the dollar bubble finally burst and he had to cut rates and you had geopolitical events and all kinds of problems, the dollar went from 120 to 75. Like people are like, I go, oh, yeah, just go to a diner and sit down and go, hey, you know, DXY? Like, yeah, it's not around 100. Yeah, it's around 100. By the way, that's going to 75. Pass the salt. He would look at you like you're out of your mind. He would. He'd be like, oh, 75? The dollar can go that low? Yeah, dude, it can. Could it hurt equities? Yeah. Could it hurt bonds? Yeah. But it's not like it hasn't happened before. And things happen in threes. 1985, 2001, 2025. Right? Remember that slide? They're going to write books about this. They're going to write a book about it. They already wrote a book about it. This is like, it's like happening. I put this chart up and I go, it's happening, it's happening, it's happening. And then I look at the market and I'm like, well, you know what? Maybe I'm not getting through yet. Maybe one day I will. Sometimes I imagine myself. I imagine I'm, you know, I'm the Joe Rogan of crypto, right? I toil away in obscurity until I get discovered. I don't know. Sometimes I have to do things to entertain myself psychologically during these strange periods. Okay, a quarterly chart of gold. Each bar is a quarter. So here's your 9 top, right? Now, one of two things happens. Either you get a top, or you get a pause that refreshes, right? So you got a dip. You see this wick here? You get your dip, and it resumes. And if that continues, you could have 13 more up quarters. 13 more up quarters. So wait a minute. You mean you could have 13 more up quarters in gold, which matches up nicely with 13 down quarters in the dollar index. Huh. Wow. So gold signals that the dollar could act the way the dollar has acted before. Okay. Well, that's interesting, don't you think? I kind of think so. Right? Now, for to go full crazy. You want to go crazy? Let's go for it. Let's go full crazy. This is ETH versus Bitcoin. So this plus signal is like, well, we should get a bottom any month, any day, any day, any day, any month, any month. And we finally got the bottom. The DeMark 13 bottom is in the house. Hopefully it stays that way. And guess what? This is the first leg up from 2018 to 2021 in ETH outperformance versus Bitcoin. Then ETH collapses, right? Underperforms Bitcoin, and you have a perfect 13 and 9 bottom here. This is the first leg up, according to the DeMark Elliott wave. This is the second wave correction. So here's 100% retracement. And then one day you will have this huge move where ETH outperforms Bitcoin over an extended period of time. So what would happen if Bitcoin went to 120 and ETH started going up and Solana started going up and it never stopped? It never stopped. The dollar plummets, Bitcoin resets itself at 150 or 120, and then ETH and Solana and XRP just go and go and go and go. And someone's going to tell me that that can't happen, and I'm going to show them this chart. I mean, literally, it is literally all over the charts. Quarterly charts, long-term charts, short-term charts. Short-term charts don't have, it's not as good, right? Like, for example, Render, right? Render looks like a 13 and a 9 bottom, and it's going the other way. But if you look at Bitcoin, right, you don't really have, you know, I've been trying to figure out on the air, this is like this absence of signals, right? So the good news is in Bitcoin that it's got back above 78, and the range should return to being 78 to 88. But this plunge to a new low here for the move, it's perfect. It's exactly what you needed, right? It's how you get A, right? It's an ABC correction. And it's over. It's done. Right? You had a 13 bottom here, and all this was nothing more than a selling climax. It's the same thing in Ethereum, right? You have a 13 bottom, you blow everyone out, but there's nothing here. There's, the next big up move, you may wind up confirming the 13 bottom. But this whole thing is just them forcing everyone out. That's what it looks like visually. But there's nothing here where I can go, oh God, not like on the monthly and the quarterly charts. Right. So it's kind of like a void in a way. Where the market is like literally like in equities, where we're sitting with the finger on the button, waiting to actually see what happens. Are they going to push the button? Are they going to lose their mind? Are they going to go crazy? Equities are up, and Bitcoin is only up 3%. And Bitcoin should be up 15%. And it would be if they weren't scared about all the stuff that's out there. Okay, I know the Eagle King has to go. This is happening right now. Right now, this is happening, right? I don't see the communists capitulating. I don't see Trump packing it in either. The question is, who can take more pain? And the issue is the United States getting what it wants if the dollar continues to go lower, right? And if the dollar does continue to go lower and gold continues to go higher, and then the Fed comes in, what happens to Bitcoin? I mean, seriously, if you were walking around at a Bitcoin conference at Bitcoin Nashville last year when Orange Man was talking, and you stop somebody in the hallway and go, man, let me tell you a story. The dollar's going massively lower. The Fed's coming in with high-powered money and QE because hedge funds blew themselves up. How would you feel about Bitcoin? And you wouldn't even get to finish that. Halfway through, it'd be like, hang on his phone, green button, boom, right? Everything you ever wanted is being delivered, hand delivered by governments and sovereigns who may or may not have your interest at heart. And the YouTube member area is locked in, man. We got all the sectors. We got the coins in the sectors. And then if you don't believe me, that's okay. You don't like my style? Really? Ironically, go listen to Toby. Because when Toby said it to me last week, I had to sit down at this thing and say, am I going to stare into this camera? Am I going to stare into this and go, I'm bullish Bitcoin? And the answer is yes. So if you want to feel that way too, please check out that QR code. That is it for the week. Please hit the notification bell on the way out. We'll see you soon.